Yoshiwara, the cultural heart of Edo period Japan. Picture a world where the most influential artists, writers, and fashion designers gathered not in museums or academies, but in a walled district of pleasure and entertainment, a place where the poorest servant could rub shoulders with the wealthiest merchant, and where a courtesan's poetry could change the course of Japanese literature. Welcome to Yoshiwara, the legendary pleasure district of Edo period Japan, where art and commerce danced a delicate balance that would shape Japanese culture for centuries to come. The year is 1617, and the newly established Tokugawa shogunate faces a dilemma. The rapidly growing city of Edo, modern-day Tokyo, is becoming unruly. The streets are filled with unlicensed brothels, and the authorities fear losing control. Their solution? Create a single, heavily regulated district where all of Edo's entertainment would be concentrated. Thus, Yoshiwara was born. But Yoshiwara would become far more than just a red-light district. Behind its imposing walls lay a complex society that would revolutionize Japanese art, literature, and fashion. This was the floating world, a realm where strict social hierarchies momentarily dissolved and where creativity flourished in unexpected ways. Imagine walking through Yoshiwara's main entrance, the famous Omon Gate. The moment you step through, you enter a different realm entirely. The wide main street, Naka-no-cho, stretches before you, lined with elegant establishments. Lanterns cast a warm glow over the wooden buildings, their elaborate architectural details revealing the prosperity within. This isn't the Japan of austere Zen temples or samurai strongholds. This is a world of sublime artifice, where every detail is carefully curated for maximum aesthetic impact. The courtesans of Yoshiwara weren't mere entertainers. The highest ranking among them, known as Taiyu, and later Oiran, were the celebrities of their day. These women were expected to be accomplished in the arts, masters of calligraphy, poetry, tea ceremony, and music. They set fashion trends that would spread throughout Japanese society, from their elaborate hairstyles to their distinctive way of wearing kimono. Take, for example, the story of Yoshiwara's most famous courtesan, Takao. In the 1670s, her poetry and wit made her so renowned that wealthy patrons would wait months for the chance to meet her. Her signature style of wearing kimono slightly off the shoulder became a fashion sensation, copied by women throughout Edo. When she fell in love with a patron and attempted to break her contract, a forbidden act, the resulting scandal inspired dozens of plays and works of literature. But the true genius of Yoshiwara lay in its business model. The district operated on a complex system of hierarchies and rules that transformed pleasure into art and art into commerce. Every detail was monetized, from the initial introduction to a courtesan to the elaborate multi-course meals served during entertainment. Even the act of viewing the courtesans as they sat in their display windows, known as haremis, was turned into a cultural spectacle. This system gave birth to a unique form of art, the ukiyo-e woodblock print. Publishers realized there was a hungry market for images of famous courtesans and scenes from Yoshiwara life. Artists like Kitagawa Utamaro made their names creating exquisitely detailed portraits of Yoshiwara's beauties. These weren't just portraits, they were advertisements, fashion plates, and works of art all in one. Consider Utamaro's famous print series, 10 Studies in Female Physiognomy. Each image captures a different courtesan in an intimate moment, applying makeup, writing a letter, or sharing a private joke with an attendant. The prints were affordable enough for ordinary townspeople to collect, yet sophisticated enough to be appreciated as fine art. They spread the aesthetic of Yoshiwara throughout Japanese society, and eventually would influence European artists like Van Gogh and Degas. The influence of Yoshiwara extended far beyond its walls through a sophisticated media ecosystem. Guidebooks called Yujo Hyobanki rated and reviewed courtesans like modern restaurant critics, complete with witty commentary and inside gossip. These publications weren't just entertainment. They were vital marketing tools that helped create and maintain Yoshiwara's reputation as a center of sophisticated culture. Writers found endless inspiration in Yoshiwara's complex social world. The great author Ihara Saikaku set many of his works there, using the district as a lens to examine human nature and society. His novel, The Life of an Amorous Woman, offers a surprisingly nuanced look at life in Yoshiwara, depicting both its glamour and its harsh realities. These stories helped create a new genre of literature focused on contemporary urban life, marking a significant shift from the classical works that had dominated Japanese letters. Yet beneath the artistic brilliance and cultural sophistication of Yoshiwara lay an ingenious business system that would influence Japanese commerce for generations. The district operated as a carefully regulated marketplace, where everything from the apprenticeship of courtesans to the price of tea was controlled by a sophisticated guild system. At the heart of this system was the hierarchy of courtesans themselves. Like a modern luxury brand, Yoshiwara created artificial scarcity to drive up prices. The highest-ranking oiran were deliberately limited in number, making their services exclusive and extremely expensive. A single evening's entertainment with an oiran could cost the equivalent of several months' salary for a middle-class merchant. But what truly set Yoshiwara apart was its creation of what we might today call experience economy. Every interaction was choreographed for maximum dramatic effect. Consider the famous ritual of the Oiran's procession, or Oiran Dochu. These weren't simple walks from one place to another. They were theatrical performances that could last hours. An Oiran would walk in an elaborate figure-8 pattern, wearing towering sandals and accompanied by an entourage of apprentices and servants. The whole spectacle was designed to be seen and admired by ordinary townspeople who could never afford her services. The district even developed its own distinctive language, known as Yoshiwara Kotoba. This special vocabulary allowed courtesans and clients to communicate in code, adding an extra layer of sophistication to their interactions. Many of these words eventually entered mainstream Japanese, enriching the language with new ways to describe beauty, style, and emotion. Consider the story of how Yoshiwara influenced one of Japan's most distinctive art forms, kabuki theater. The flamboyant acting style, elaborate costumes, and dramatic makeup that characterize kabuki were heavily influenced by the theatrical nature of life in Yoshiwara. Many kabuki plays were set in the district, and actors would spend time there studying the mannerisms and fashion of the courtesans to incorporate into their performances. The famous actor Ichikawa Danjurobumon, for instance, created some of his most memorable characters based on Yoshiwara personalities. His portrayal of the rebellious courtesan Agemaki in the play Sukaroku became so iconic that it influenced how real courtesans would later present themselves. Art imitating life, imitating art in an endless cycle of cultural innovation. But Yoshiwara's influence extended far beyond the arts. The district became a testing ground for new business practices that would later become standard throughout Japan. The concept of customer loyalty programs, for instance, can be traced back to Yoshiwara's system of regular customers, or najimi. These preferred clients received special treatment, credit privileges, and access to exclusive events, much like modern VIP programs. The district also pioneered sophisticated marketing techniques. The carefully cultivated public personas of famous courtesans were managed much like today's celebrities. Every detail of their appearance, their artistic accomplishments, and even their love affairs was publicized through a network of publishers, artists, and writers who made their living chronicling Yoshiwara life. This media ecosystem created what we might now call influencer culture. When an oiran appeared in a certain style of kimono or used a particular type of cosmetic, it would spark a trend throughout Edo. Merchants would rush to create affordable versions of these luxury goods for the mass market. This democratization of fashion and style helped create Japan's first consumer culture. The physical layout of Yoshiwara itself influenced urban planning throughout Japan. The district's main street, with its carefully arranged shops and entertainment venues, became a model for commercial districts in other cities. The concept of zoning different types of businesses and creating a concentrated entertainment district was revolutionary for its time. Even the financial innovations of Yoshiwara had lasting impact. The district developed sophisticated systems of credit and debt management, including the use of promissory notes that functioned much like modern credit cards. These financial instruments helped create a more flexible economy in Edo, allowing for larger transactions and more complex business arrangements. But perhaps most significantly, Yoshiwara created a space where different social classes could interact in ways impossible elsewhere in rigid, hierarchical Edo society. While samurai were technically forbidden from entering the district, though many did so in disguise, merchants and artisans could freely mix with the cultural elite. This social mobility, though limited and artificial, helped create new forms of cultural expression that blended high and low art in unprecedented ways. As the sun rose over Edo each morning, the lanterns of Yoshiwara would dim, and a different side of the district would emerge. Behind the glamour and artistic achievement lay a complex reality that tells us much about Japanese society and human nature itself. The story of Yoshiwara's eventual decline is as revealing as its rise to cultural prominence. By the mid-19th century, Yoshiwara faced unprecedented challenges. The arrival of Western influences and changing social attitudes began to erode its position as a cultural center. Yet even in decline, the district continued to inspire artists and writers who found in its fading glory a powerful metaphor for the end of the Edo period itself. Consider the haunting photographs taken by Shin Watanabe in the 1860s, among the first photographs ever taken of Yoshiwara. These images capture a world in transition. Courtesans still pose in their elaborate finery, but their expressions suggest an awareness that their way of life was coming to an end. These photographs, blending traditional aesthetics with the new technology of photography, symbolize the broader changes sweeping through Japanese society. The district's influence on modern Japanese culture is far more pervasive than many realize. The aesthetic principle of iki, a sophisticated naturalness combining chic and sensuality, was refined in Yoshiwara and continues to influence Japanese design and fashion. When you see a contemporary kimono designer playing with traditional patterns in unexpected ways, you're witnessing the echo of Yoshiwara's creative spirit. Modern Japanese popular culture, from anime to fashion magazines, still draws on artistic conventions developed in Yoshiwara. The glamour shot compositions of ukiyo-e courtesan portraits influence how photographers frame their subjects today. The dramatic poses and elaborate costumes of contemporary visual kei rock stars owe a debt to the theatrical self-presentation of Oiran. Even the language of modern Japanese entertainment and fashion retains traces of Yoshiwara kotoba. When a magazine describes something as imperial, you, or when a host club advertises its number one, taifu, host, they're unconsciously using terms that originated in Yoshiwara's complex hierarchy. But perhaps Yoshiwara's most significant legacy lies in how it shaped Japan's understanding of the relationship between art and commerce. The district demonstrated that creativity could thrive within and even because of commercial constraints. This lesson resonates strongly in contemporary Japan, where popular culture and high art freely mix in ways that would have been unthinkable in many other societies. The physical space of Yoshiwara itself, though largely destroyed in the fire bombings of World War II, has left its mark on Tokyo's urban landscape. The narrow streets of Kabukicho, Tokyo's modern entertainment district, follow patterns established in Yoshiwara. The elaborate signage, the careful zoning of different types of entertainment, even the practice of displaying photos of performers, all these echo Yoshiwara's innovative approach to urban entertainment. Yet Yoshiwara's legacy is complex and often contradictory. While we celebrate its artistic achievements and cultural innovations, we cannot ignore the human cost of its existence. The stories of countless women who passed through its gates remind us that behind every cultural golden age lie more difficult truths. This complexity makes Yoshiwara's story all the more valuable for understanding Japanese history and culture. It shows us how creativity can flourish in unexpected places, how commerce and art can feed each other, and how even within strict social constraints, people find ways to create beauty and meaning. Today, as you walk through the streets of modern Tokyo, you might not immediately see Yoshiwara's influence, but look more closely at the fashion in Harajuku, the art galleries of Roppongi, or the host clubs of Kabukicho, and you'll find echoes of the floating world, in the way these spaces blend art and commerce, in how they create carefully curated experiences, and in their celebration of style and sophistication. The spirit of Yoshiwara lives on. The story of Yoshiwara reminds us that culture is not something that descends from on high, but something that emerges from the complex interplay of art, commerce, and human desire. It shows us that creativity often flourishes not in perfect freedom, but within constraints that force innovation and refinement. Most of all, it reveals how a single district in a growing city could become a crucible for artistic and cultural innovations that would influence a nation for centuries to come. Thank you for watching this exploration of Yoshiwara's cultural legacy. If you enjoyed learning about this fascinating chapter in Japanese history, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more insights into Japan's rich cultural heritage.